right, stand by. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric, and I'll be your host for this evening, where we will be reviewing No Exit. I'm told this is the name of a fancy play. You can guess who told me that. Joining me tonight, first up from Manhattan, New York City, please welcome John to the show.
Hi, Eric.
Am I revealing, John, that I'm a rube tonight on the show? By that I didn't know it.
I mean, I like that you think that wasn't
evident.
Common knowledge.
Yeah, I got you. Next up on the show from the left coast, please welcome Rachel to the show.
Hello. Thanks for having me back.
Sure. Is that appropriate? Do people say that? The left coast?
The best coast.
Love it. Next up from Indiana, please welcome Casey.
The no coast.
Takes 4-day drive to the ocean. And last up tonight,
Also, Lake Michigan quickly.
Yeah.
It's true. It's pretty big. Also from the left coast, I think California, is that right?
Yeah, Los Angeles, California.
Wow, fancy. Please welcome from Dads from the Crypt, Jason, to the show.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Jason, for people who don't remember, we had a couple months ago, I want to say like December or January, we had Mondo on the show, who's also from Dads from the Crypt, and we'll talk about it later, but you guys have a show where you review Tales from the Crypt episodes and do other things.
Yeah, we review an episode a week, and we have some guests, and we talk dad stuff, and we'll get to that.
Love it.
They have pretty awesome guests.
Yeah, Casey. Trying to get Eric, but it's past his bedtime, so.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, we're going to start recording at like 8 o'clock West Coast time. I was like, not with me or not, but have fun. I can do math, sir. All right, let's do it. Ladies and gents. Oh, I closed my iPad, John, because it's about to die. This is unprofessional. Let's do it. Take a quick break and discuss No Exit.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. From the prime time. Main feature.
You know what I love, John? One of my favorite things is when you plug an iPad or an iPhone into a computer. This usually happens in Windows, and it connects, like something happens, but then it goes, not charging. And it's like, why? Why not?
Well, step one,
It
don't
sees it.
have a PC. Like,
No,
that's-
dude,
Well,
don't get me started.
even-
Don't get me started. I'm on a Mac at work right now, and it's trash. I hate it.
Even better, though, sometimes you plug that Apple product into your Windows computer and it says not charging, but it really is.
Oh, interesting.
There you go.
Maybe it's
Yeah.
charging. Maybe.
Does it give you like this device not supported message? That's always a positive.
It just says
Yeah.
not charging on my iPad, so here we are. Lost
Yeah,
you,
bro.
or- Okay. All right, John.
Come on, what are you talking about?
Please bring
Totally
us.
had a word.
Please bring us the word of the day.
Eric, today's word, which was prepared well before we started recording, is perforate. That's Perforate. A little hat tip to Rachel, pointing me in that direction.
Just a little hat tip to Rachel there.
Pierce and make a hole or holes in. Perforate. They give an adjective. This is always fun. That's the verb. They give an adjective definition, perforate, which I guess I don't even know. I'm trying to like use it in a sentence in my head. In any event, but then the definition is just perforated, so which I don't understand why. Like Why? Why would they do that? That makes no sense.
I really thought I was about to learn something. I got
No,
excited.
no. It literally, I'm like confused. It says adjective perforate, and then the definition is perforated. You're like, what? Okay, what? No, that was not helpful. It comes to us from Latin, per meaning through, and forare means to pierce.
Mm-hmm.
I love when there's just a clean Latin etymology. It's always my favorite. Perforated.
I love it. English is such a brutal language, John. The Latin always sounds so fancy and
Yeah,
erudite.
but English is so flexible. That's what
Mhm.
I like about it.
you
You
know-
think about how many words just get like made up all the time.
They actually taught Latin in my high school. I doubt they do that anymore. Well, when I say that, it was like
we had Latin too.
it was
but I
like
don't-
an
I don't-
elective. Like you had to take a language, and it was an elective language. But I had the sneaking suspicion that they would only let you take it if you were like exceedingly smart and successful in school. Like if I was just like, yeah, I'll take Latin, I feel like they would have been like, so maybe you need like some remedial Spanish, sir.
Like phase one of joining the Illuminati.
Right.
Like you have to qualify for
Yeah.
Latin.
That would be that would be a good way to vet people. Yeah. Can you read this mysterious symbol here? And let's start there.
Sadly, my small Indiana high school said we ain't teaching that stuff.
I doubt they do
I-
it anymore, but I could be wrong. Who knows? I don't
I
know any
think
kids.
most of the
so-
symbols are just the alphabet, Eric. So it's-
No, I mean, like
you may be
Illumi-
thinking about Roman
you know
numerals, which are
Illuminati.
also-
I'm talking about John. I'm talking about like a mysterious coat of arms that may or may not like possess a bunch of signs for people about world plans, that kind of thing.
Okay.
You know,
But have you seen the back of a $20
Like-
bill on weed?
something that they
yeah.
exactly like basically the whole plot of
E
the
pluribus unum.
the whole plot of the scary of whatever that movie was.
Yeah.
Right.
I was wondering if we were going to get there, and we did.
Yeah,
there you
here
go.
we are.
All roads lead.
John, tell me about this movie, No Exit.
No exit. Yeah, I mean, there's not a ton to tell. We were looking through sort of recent releases, as one does, and this was just recently debuted on Hulu, Feb 25th. It's a Hulu original, a Hulu only. I don't know what they call those, but it's available on Hulu. This is not an ad. That is where we watched it. It comes to us from Damian Power, who had one or two other feature film credits. The only one that I recognize is a movie called Killing Ground, which was from 2016, which I believe is Australian. I think he may be an Australian gentleman. This movie was shot, No Exit was shot in Australia, although the actors themselves are not all Australian. The basic plot here, I'll try to keep this brief. We have Darby. We meet Darby. She is in recovery for drug and lots of drugs abuse by her own telling. She's not like super into it, and she gets a phone call that her mother is in the hospital and has had a brain aneurysm, and the call is like from, I don't know, it's like the sister's boyfriend or someone who's like tangentially connected, and so she's like, okay, I gotta go. She calls her sister, and the sister's like, no, don't come. So there's this whole setup of like she's trying to get to see her mom, but the mom and the sister, it's unclear that they wanted to see her. But so she uses this as not as just an excuse. I mean, I think she really did want to see her mom, but she also uses it as an excuse to escape from rehab. She steals a car. She drives off. She's going from Sacramento to Salt Lake City, and she gets stuck in a blizzard, and basically is told by a police officer that she has to get off the road and she has to go to this, what are they called? Rest stops. Like it was
It was a visitor center.
It was a visitor
Yeah,
center, yeah.
it was for like a specific place called like Muir Fart. Like I've been to Muir Woods, which is like,
Visitor centers are like rest stops, but they're useless.
no, well, there was
because-
like, but they had like the park stuff, like they had the maps and
This
all
is
the.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
topographical
That's
things.
what I'm saying. They're like
If
they're
Yeah, they don't have the
going to-
they don't have the food and the vending machines.
They
and
might
stuff
have
that
a
you would
vending
want at a rest
machine.
stop.
there
They-
was some food.
they might
were
have a
not-
vending machine. They have
was coffee.
toilets that
Yeah.
haven't been they have toilets that haven't been cleaned in like a decade. Like they're friggin' useless.
All right. Well, it's
They're-
all kind of just a setup. For
They're
the
a
fact
great
that she is
place to
now-
get murdered, in fact, which this
Yeah.
movie pours out.
So she's stuck now in this rest center with a husband and wife, or like a couple, Ed, played by Dennis Haysbert, the Allstate insurance guy, although has been in other stuff.
He
Um,
was he's he,
Disrespecting the president of 24
he
like
was the
that.
20
Wow.
that was my thing. He's the president
I
of
did-
24.
yeah. I did see a couple of those seasons with him. Dale Dickey is his wife, or like significant other, his partner, Sandy.
Patty,
And
the daytime hooker.
yeah, and then
We'll get to it. It's just hilarious. Like, I have also a very specific thing about who that woman is, but it's totally different from you guys. But it's like the only thing I've ever seen her in.
there's two other people in this. There's 5 people total. Lars, who's like antisocial, kind of
Sketchy.
strange. He's having some issues. And then there's Ash, who's sort of like nice hunky guy. I don't know. We don't get a whole lot of background on any of these characters. And that's it. And so what happens is Darby, at one point, she goes outside, she's trying to find signal, and she realizes in the back of a van that is parked in the driveway or in the parking lot is a kidnapped girl. And so now she is like in this, not even a cat and mouse game yet, but what evolves into somewhat of a cat and mouse game, because she knows that there's this kidnapped girl. The people who kidnapped, or the person who kidnapped this girl, doesn't know that she knows. And she doesn't know who it is of the 4 people. Though she like pretty quickly targets Lars, because he's a creeper and the most obvious candidate to have been kidnapping a girl. It then is revealed pretty quickly that like Lars is the kidnapper. And that's like sort of like the first of many twisty things that happen throughout the rest of the movie, which we can get to.
I love it. All right, Rachel, what do you think?
So I went into this with pretty low expectations. I did not have high hopes for it. But I ended up not having a terrible time. I think that it definitely has faults, which I'm sure we're going to get into. But it reminded me of kind of the TV mysteries I would watch growing up and really kind of have a love for. And so I think, even though this one had a much meaner streak, which again, I think we're going to get into. But, I think at one point this is intended to go theatrical, which I think would have been a mistake, because some of the issues that are kind of forgivable as a TV movie would have been less so on the big screen. So, yeah, although I don't know, maybe that's changing now. Maybe we do have higher expectations for straight to streaming. I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about that too. Who knows?
Does anyone have any expectations anymore? Let's be clear.
Not
Fair,
if you've been doing a
fair.
show like this for years. No.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, when you first picked it, I was like, wait, this one? Is this the one you're talking? Okay, yeah.
Trailer looked
I'll
cool,
do
huh?
it. But yeah, I mean, I think I struggled with some of the pacing in this and some of the tone in this. Like, it's a little all over the place, but for like a one and done watch, it's pretty fun.
Mhm.
I there are things I liked about this.
Rachel, you'd be shocked by our movie selection process. People usually are when they hear it.
Yeah.
The committee, and then everybody
We
goes
take
to
it
the
very
basement
seriously,
and lights
yeah.
a candle, and when the smoke rises from the chimney, it has been chosen.
It's definitely not Sunday at 3:00 when everyone's texting me being like, "What are we watching?" And I'm like, "This thing."
To be clear, we did pick there was a handful of things that we were.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
gave me some options and I picked one.
I would love to see the reject pile. Not that has bearing on my thoughts on this movie, but I'm just curious, like, what got the shaft.
We might still be coming back to them.
Yeah,
don't
we'll
worry.
come back.
Yeah.
Casey, how about you?
All right, I came into this with 0 expectations as well, and ultimately, I'm not far off from Rachel. This is not a bad movie, and I'm not disappointed that I lost the hour and a half that I took watching it. It does feel very first thriller movie, kind of, for the filmmaker. That it seems kind of by the numbers, kind of basic. There's some twists in here that did catch me off guard, and I will give them that. That's cool. But there's also some twists that felt like they were bolted on here if only for continual reactions, and it just didn't really work out. There's some of those plot points. It's like, well, you didn't really need to bring that up, and we could have been just fine. There was 2 or 3 of those in here. But I don't think anybody did a bad job. Dennis Haysbert and Dale Dickey are both experienced actors. That's not a surprise. The younger folks here that we haven't seen before, they were all fairly solid. Even the kid who was placed there to be our obvious red herring, which turned out semi-true as we go through and whatnot. And even that kid had a specific part to play, but he didn't do a bad job at it. So perfectly passable movie, just not necessarily going to win any awards.
Jason.
Yeah, like everyone said, this is the kind of thing where I think it's best where you have no expectation. You haven't seen the trailer, you don't know at all where this is going until they get to the visitor center. You're like, oh, okay, we're kind of like in almost a whodunit, kind of a reverse whodunit in a way. And you're like, well, this guy's so obvious. He's such a red herring that it can't be him. But obviously, we say that we already said it is him. Actually, I like the way it was shot. There's some cool framing shots, people kind of standing in structures. And again, this is a woman who's dealing with addiction, and she's obviously struggling, and she finds a bag of a white substance in the car that she steals. And then, she's tempted by that, and then she's driving through a literal blizzard of snow of white substance coming down on her. So I kind of felt a little bit of the dread that she must be going through, worrying about her mom, getting into this kind of shady situation. So I kind of, at least in the first half, I was kind of feeling what she was going through a little bit. But also, I don't know if we mentioned yet, but this is based off a book. So I wonder whether they felt a little beholden to cram every twist from the book. So some things might have read better than come off on screen. When it gets to some of the later twists, I'm wondering whether they might have been held.
It's a little involved in a way that actually kind of makes sense when you think about it being based on a book.
Yeah. It seems like we're missing some of that flavor text that kind of builds out their relationship with all these people and how they got there, right? Because I had no idea. I had no idea there was a book on this. So, I mean, I thought that was pretty interesting to hear.
But overall, again, it's a perfectly serviceable thriller. Again, as a horror fan going into this, I'm like, where's this going to go? Are demons going to show up? I was getting a 30 Days of Night vibe for a little bit. Like, a vampire's going to show up and they're going to have to barricade themselves in there. So again, it's a good movie not to watch a trailer for. Just kind of go in completely blind and just kind of go for the ride. But not the best movie, but I enjoyed it.
John Schnorrs.
I'm pretty aligned. I would say, though, maybe on the lower end of the responses. It's funny. I feel like Hulu, this is their wheelhouse of random ass movie, pretty competently put together. You're 90 minutes on the nose. I feel like there's a lot of these things either that we've seen or people have recommended to me. They don't market them. I had not heard of this movie at all unless you literally open Hulu and you're like, no exit. I had to search too. It was not served up aggressively. Yeah, I mean, there's a shitload of plot in this movie. I mean, everyone kind of hit on it. I think, Jason, you're probably right that the screenwriters who Rachel had called out there, it's the folks who wrote Ant-Man and the Wasp, the sequel to the Ant-Man film.
Wild.
I mean, yeah, I don't know, it's just on the verge of being good in my mind. There's enough pieces there. It does. Rachel, I know you wanted to get into it. It goes to some pretty gruesome places. There's one universe where this is a noirish thriller.
Right. It's kind of almost weird where it goes in is that what that kind of movie we were watching? It sort of took me aback.
Legit body horror-ish things that go. I mean, not kind of they're pretty body horror-ish, and yeah, it feels tonally, as I think Rachel you said, it's just all over the map. So I don't know. I didn't think any of the actors were killer, but I think some of that probably is on the script more than the acting itself. If anything, they're doing noble work in trying to sort of get there. On the Dennis Haysbert point, look, I enjoy him, and he's by far the best part of this movie in my mind. I feel like if you're casting him, you know exactly what you're getting. There's he does not have wide range. He's playing the Allstate pitchman in this movie, but he's great. It's just he just has this presence.
Dude, he's got a gravitas, I think is the right word.
It's so good. And the character that he's playing here ends up. This is, if anything, the thing I'll stop. But we should dig in a little bit because I think the thing that we were most confused about, just based on the email thread, is like the Sandy character and her role.
Yeah.
But like their relationship, this is where I think a lot of that is probably in the book,
Yeah.
and you don't
It
get.
does not translate to the movie.
They
Yeah.
just didn't. They're like missing one
Mhm.
piece of it.
There's a moment
Um,
like before the ship blows up where he like dresses down one of the people that ends up being like one of the killers. He's like, that wasn't your story to tell. Like he gets fired up and he's like and it's like he's mad and you're like, I'm sorry. Like you're like watching the movie like,
Yeah.
ah.
Salty
Dude,
dad
it's
is mad.
scary as shit.
But he's the only one
it's
who
like-
really has like that gravitas
it's
in
like-
this movie. I mean,
Yeah.
the other bad guy, like whatever. This is spoiler alert. There's a twist. Turns out there's 2 kidnappers. It's like there's only 4 people, so you will guess who it is pretty quickly if you're listening to this. But I felt like he was actually pretty good. Like being asked to play a psycho. Like there's a couple scenes in this movie where I'm like, oh boy, like this guy is
Yeah.
nasty. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just watched Assassination Nation for the first time, and he's in that as well as
Oh,
like
wow.
he's the guy who makes out with the transgender character.
Right. Right.
So I was like, okay, I knew
The
where that guy
football
was. And he
player
actually has
kid.
pretty good range, I thought. But they do the first twist really quickly. I thought it was gonna be like most of the movie was her trying to figure this whole thing out.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I looked
yeah.
at the runtime and I'm like, wait, there's still an
So,
hour left. Where are
I
we
was wondering
going?
if they could have put a couple character beats as they were kind of going on with the mystery a little bit. Could have fleshed some things out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like pretty in line with everybody here. It's basically what this is it almost kind of gave me a weird nostalgia I was not prepared for like 2010 direct to video movies. Like
Yeah.
before it was all streaming, this might just go DVD to like the last blockbuster in your town or something. That's kind of the level and the vibe that I got from it. I think at its best, this thing is like an economical little thriller. I also think it's part of like, I think we need a name for this now. I'm going to call it like, I don't know. We need a name for this kind of COVID era movie where they clearly tried to shoot with as few people as possible and like
Yeah.
in an isolated place. Cause I keep saying this like every movie we do lately, and I'm seeing the trend, like regardless of what the movie's about, we need like I need a catchphrase, John. I need some kind of bunker to put these in.
I mean, COVID movie like that. It's not doesn't have
Yeah.
to be complicated.
Well,
here.
this is why
Bubble
you're
flick?
not, this is why you're not in the promotions department, John.
Bubble Buster.
Don't get confused with the new movie on Netflix called The
Mm,
Bubble,
The Bubble,
about
yeah.
the pandemic.
So, but I think like where it goes wrong, and I didn't know it was from a book, but with that weirdly kind of makes sense. To me, where it goes wrong is where it's sort of violating the tenets of just being a tight little thriller. And I think it does that in 2 ways. The biggest one is this freaking twist. Like the second twist is very dumb. And I want to talk about
Yeah.
it because she sets it up. The second twist is the nurse.
Oh, I thought you were like you're saying the first twist is that there's 2.
That's fine.
Right.
And it,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it,
okay.
it does come pretty early, but it's like in some ways it kind of meets out in a way that kind of makes sense. Like it kind of works.
Oh, totally. And when
Yeah.
it happens, it's like pretty
Yeah.
brutal because like she's had this moment where she's like confiding in him and like, hey, you're gonna help me. And it was not obvious to me that
It's
that was
put in-
where
yeah,
it's
yeah,
going.
no,
Maybe I
he
should-
sold
should've
me
been.
on it.
It's
Yeah.
put in a way that I think helps with the pacing because you don't have a lot of characters. It's very much based around this tension that's like very situational based, like very quiet little moments between characters where people don't know things about other characters, and that's slowly ratcheting up until secrets come out. And then the second twist of the nurse is insane to me, partially because I don't think it makes any sense with what we've seen from the character before. It's like she's not a character and then she is. Like,
Right.
and all you see from the movie, to your point, John, is like they're just a super tight, loving like couple who's kind of like maternalistic towards this younger character and trying to protect her, and like that's all you really get of her until she says the line out of nowhere. She says one of the worst lines I've ever heard, which is to her husband, who so far we've only seen how tight they are and how they're like a unit. And he's like, babe, we'll get through this. Like we get through everything. She goes, what you don't know about me, you could fit in a backpack. And I'm just like, bitch, what?
Is it like a big backpack?
And in the moment
Yeah, I
you're
know,
watching it
children's
and you're
backpack.
like, the fuck is she talking about? And like, then
Is it
if,
just this one thing? or is
then,
it a
but that's like the
movies?
only work they do to get you to what happens a few minutes later, and then it makes sense. But then you're like, oh, come on, like
Well,
what?
and
Yeah.
there's one flashback in the whole movie that feels
Right.
so out of left field.
So out of
Right,
left
when they
field.
show her being
So, like,
the like
dude,
housekeeper.
And the thing
it's-
that
TikTok
the,
abuse.
the thing that's
Ugh.
the thing that's
bad.
frustrating the thing that's frustrating to me about it is that they didn't need it. Like I think it's
No.
a really tense movie that uses the actors they have and the setting they have pretty well. It's not amazing, but it's not terrible either. Like it's got a lot of tense
Yeah.
moments, and I think just leading up to like the chasing around the woods in the snow and like a physical confrontation and people are dying, I think that's all you need here. And to throw in that second twist does very much feel like something a super long book might do to like keep it
Mhm.
interesting. And again, like something that a book might have a lot more opportunity to develop before it hits the reader.
Yeah.
In a movie, it just
You have
comes
time
out
for a setup.
in a
there.
movie it comes out of left field. It feels out of place. And I would also harp on the tone thing because the whole hand scene felt all of a sudden I was like, did this turn into a Saw movie? Like, what the fuck is happening?
It's like two movies smooshed together. Like one of them is
because
sort of like
you
a
don't-
YA mystery, and then all of a sudden
Yeah.
it's torture time.
The rest of the movie is like, it's not that it's not intense, but it's not violent like that. And to have that come out of nowhere seems really weird. It's really
well,
kinda
there's
bizarre.
it.
Yeah.
So the thing I would say about the violence is that it is set up pretty early that like there's a girl like pretty heavily not bandaged, like tied up in the back of a truck, like, and she's like 10. This is not like
Yeah.
So it's dark from the outset in that like we're talking about like a kid being abducted and trafficked.
It is, but Rachel, like the YA description, you're kind of onto it. Like there is a way of doing movies that are basically about dark subject matter, but you're not like really going there. And that kind of was what the movie feels like until all of a sudden it's just like,
Well,
it just like
but
cranks
as
the
soon-
wheel.
I would argue like as soon as Ash, the like
and
second
then they're like, oh, by
kidnapper
the way,
comes in-
human trafficking and holes in hands. And like,
well, as soon as Ash comes in, it's like that's when they just start. It just starts ratcheting from there because he's just like, taking no prisoners. Like I'm gonna fucking murder everyone. Like we'll
Yeah,
do
he was
whatever
gonna
we
burn
ever-
down.
Yeah.
He was gonna burn down the whole place.
Yeah, yeah.
No, did,
See, I think
what-
there was. Sorry, Jason. I didn't mean to cut you off.
oh no, there's that scene where she's about to take off the tape from the girl for the very first time. Again, we still don't know exactly what kind of movie this is in totality. Did anyone else think that she's going to turn out to be like a demon or
Yes.
possessed or a vampire, like something
I was
crazy was
going-
about to happen?
You were still holding out for the demon at that
Yes.
part. Wow,
I want my demons.
that was like
I want, like-
halfway into the movie.
I'm like, this is like an Evil Dead movie.
Here it comes. This is
What?
the demon.
dude,
More-
okay, you
more
know
fun
what?
than human trafficking.
If a demon showed up, I would have been fine with everything else. I just want to say that for the
totally.
record.
I
I'm
would've
always,
been, like
I am-
high-fiving.
I am always on board for surprise supernatural crap. Not so much
yeah.
surprise hole in the hand, because the surprise supernatural is like so over the top that you're like, cool. I don't know, man. I'm
Or
game."
like like a Dust Till Dawn kind
You
of
got
twist, that
me.
kind of thing.
Yeah, that's
There's
true.
some
Yeah.
muddiness in the like cinematography going through some of that stuff too. Because when she first discovers the girl in the back of the van, in that first scene that we see that she realizes somebody back there, I had no idea it was a 10-year-old.
I didn't either at first.
It
Yeah.
wasn't until like later, and they actually took the tape off her mouth, and one of the guys said she's only like 10. That I had no idea.
Because it's very
Yeah.
dark. It's
yeah,
very
and that kind of
dark
takes
and-
some of the sting away if you're not picking up on that plot fact.
Yeah.
At that
Well,
point,
and then
early on.
when they show her like abusing the nanny, I was kind of like, this girl is not.
Yeah.
So that's the other.
Like-
I mean, that's the other thing. It feels like they're just trying to go for this shocking twist, but all you're doing is completely, like, kind of ruining the dynamics of the movie. Because then you don't give a shit. You're like, all right.
No,
whatever.
it definitely. For me, I was just like, what the fuck just happened? Like,
It
there
was, and
yeah.
that scene, especially with how jarring it is, because it's the first time we're really cutting away from this setting. It's like a Lifetime movie, is what it
Yeah.
feels like.
Well, you know what it reminded me of that does it 100 times better is Gone Girl.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh
Right.
yeah, I could see that.
Right.
Yeah, where they kind of twist it completely, though they recontextualize the whole thing, and it works. But here,
It's also a movie where
So-
you're already used to jumping around,
Mhm.
you know?
The other one that this made me think of, do you guys remember the movie The Getaway? We did it on the show, which is like the
Yes.
only reason I watched it. That's another one that like there's like multiple twists, and like by the last twist you're like, what?
Well, and then there's one big flashback that retcons the whole movie, basically.
Yeah, exactly. But so really quick, let me lay out the like Sandy situation because
Do
I
it.
want to make sure. So because there's two alternate paths, and it's not 100% clear to me that the film picks one of these paths. I think if we wanted to be charitable to the movie, Sandy and Dennis Haysbert, was Ed, I think, are there intentionally. Like they were either like called there by the kidnappers or otherwise were like following the kidnappers. Basically, Sandy knew that the girl was sick. They maybe didn't know. She either like forgot to give them the right drugs, or because there's like a couple of things that
But
come
Dennis
up.
Haysbert was not in on it though, right? At all.
No,
No.
but he like in the very beginning, he says, Sandy just surprised me with this trip to Reno. It was like out of nowhere. She decided to
I
go to
forgot.
Reno.
Okay.
And she
so,
was
like-
obviously pissed about his gambling.
Yeah, well, yes. Then that's like that to me was like one of the worst reveals is like they're broke, which like if they're broke, why are you going on this trip? Like there's a lot of, but so she was
Also,
like,
why is the nurse vacuuming?
well, that maybe
She
that's
wasn't
what I say,
actually
like,
the nurse.
well, maybe she was the nanny. Like that's where it's like they didn't explain any of that. Like maybe she was there to like both help the girl, but then was also like cleaning a little bit for the family or
Okay.
something.
Yeah,
Or she was
I-
just talking out her ass when she told him that she was a nurse, right?
no, I have a guess, but again, this is doing a lot of the heavy lifting for the movie. She was a nurse who got fired or was laid off and decided to become a nanny to this girl who has some sort of this
Addison's, it's called.
Addison's.
Also,
Yeah.
so,
Okay.
sociopathy as well.
And then somehow she meets these guys online to come up with this kidnapping plot. I guess there's some throwaway line I think about they took the wrong drug or something because I think they're just idiots.
Yeah, they said that there was like a mix up about the drugs.
Yeah, so
See,
they
I
must
didn't
have
catch the mix-up. Again, but that makes
I didn't catch that
John's
either, actually.
theory.
But
make
you
more
have to
sense.
like this is where it's like you have to put all that stuff together because it's definitely not like served to you in any like cohesive way.
Right.
Like, what
Yeah,
if
I
it's what if it's just like a Stephen King setup where none of them are related to each other, but they all end up in the same place, and it's just a thriller? Like, what if they just did that? Wouldn't that?
And then there's demons or
Yes.
I
in
kinda
your
think there's-
version.
Do you know what
I
I'm
kinda
saying
think there's
though?
more intent in Sandy though, like John was saying, because yes, we do find out eventually that Sandy and Ed are broke, but from the very start, he said, "Well, she surprised me at this trip to Reno," and she was making one-off comments like, "Well, yeah, you're just gonna gamble again,
Like-
right? Or of course you're gonna play poker."
It's like there's only 5 characters, but the plot is like a Rat King. It's like
Yeah.
impossible to untether.
Yeah.
That's a good description.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, but this is where the book could be pretty good. There's
Sure.
maybe an edit of this that works, but there's so many of these like little details that you have to hit just right. Because then the other thing I was not worried, but thinking about was like, if Sandy knew the whole time who these guys were, she knew the girl was in the truck, wouldn't she have like facilitated more or like tried to like
Helping.
run cover for them even more than she was?
Especially if she was there because of the drug mix-up, right? She'd be
Well,
wanting to
yeah.
take care of her.
That's what I'm saying. Like she could have like there's things she could have done.
I
to, like,
also
make
I
that whole
don't.
thing go
It's
more
weird. I'm
smoothly.
keep thinking back to the scene where she finds our main character and the one guy in the bathroom when he's threatening her. Then the guy
Mhm.
pretends to like kiss her, like they're together or whatever. And then while you're watching it, what you think is happening is that this woman is trying to like check in on her and make sure she's okay, and is picking up some weirdness and trying to suss it out. But why would he kiss her if they're in
Yeah.
cahoots? And then also what? So what? How am I to read her in that whole scene? The old
Right.
the
Well,
nurse lady.
they're like he has to convince whatever the hell the main character Darby. He has to convince Darby
They're not
like
in cahoots.
they're not in cahoots. Like that's part of the
too much
charade.
too much cahoots
Yeah.
in this movie. I feel
There's a lot. That's
A lot
yeah.
of cahoots.
And that's the thing. Like there are movies that pull this stuff off where you've got these like layered relationships and interactions. Yeah, but the problem was like Sandy. They introduce it so late in the movie that you're just like, when it comes in, it's like, what the fuck? And like, I guess you can put it all together after the fact.
I
But
do have a compliment. I think it is a very nice looking movie. And I
Yeah.
really, this is just the thing I enjoy when they do it, when people do it well, which is this contrast between the sort of cold blue blizzard outside and the sort of warmth inside visually.
Mhm.
And they do that really well. And and I think the visual tension is handled pretty well too.
Yeah, there are some decently tense set pieces in this. Like when she's in the back of the van, that whole sequence is
slow
really
burn.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
it's successful. And in those places, I think the pacing, like the director gets the pacing there. And I want to kind of go back to something John was saying about needing more character beats. I think the fact that we got to that reveal so quickly robbed us of some like my issue with the pacing is about that first act and not having the time to actually get to know these characters and do any sort of like character work. So there's no real stakes because there's no real character building. And I think this movie would be even better if we actually had something beyond the barest of sketches and like archetypes
Well,
that we have in that.
They
opening.
spend so much time with Darby in
Mhm.
that, like, you spend like 10 minutes with her getting out of the treatment center.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
No,
It
doesn't,
like
yeah.
it matters. They could have like teed up the recovering addict thing way quicker, and to your
Yeah.
point, like spend
Dude,
some of that time.
She could
getting
have
those
already
things
been
under-
driving in the car and
Yeah.
gotten a voicemail from somebody. They could have explained all that plot. in
Yeah, like
30 seconds.
why did you escape? And you
Why
have
did
my
you run
stuff
away
you
from
stole, and
rehab?
there's
They could've
drugs in there.
I mean,
They could
or they
skip
could
the
have done.
rehab.
We needed Chekhov's heroin bag.
Your mom is
for one thing.
disappointed in you.
Exactly.
She's dying. Done.
They could
I
have done
did
like
love that.
a news broadcast or something. You know, be on the lookout
Yeah.
for this car or for this person who escaped
Yeah.
from whatever treatment center.
I do
Yeah,
have
they
to
could-
say,
Like an APB bulletin on the cops
so
radio.
pre-show, what was the show you guys were saying you knew this nurse lady from?
My name is Earl. She
My
was
Name is
Patty,
Earl,
the
okay.
daytime hooker.
I never
and
wa-
She will always be Patty, the daytime.
I never
hooker
watched
to
that
me.
show, but she has like a crazy memorable 2-episode turn in Breaking Bad where she plays like a meth head in like the deep stages of addiction, like real bad looking, who
Yeah.
squishes her husband's head with an ATM. That's like the big
Dale
thing
Dickey
that
is
happens.
fortunate or unfortunate to to have a certain look to her, but she is a fantastic actress and she's shown up a lot. And like she's in Claws with Niecy Nash and the other guy Hank from Breaking Bad. She's great in that. She does some really crazy stuff. I always love her. I call her Patty the daytime hooker with love.
She was, I think, wasn't
love
she a
it.
big character on Deadwood?
I think maybe.
I think she
I
was.
mean, that feels right
Yes,
spiritually.
I can see her in that, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
If not, she, her lookalike was great.
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
She
find
was
it,
great
but-
in Winter's Bone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's been in a
Annette-
ton of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
she's
she
done
has
a
a
lot.
lane for sure.
Oh yeah, but she's good at it.
Mm-hmm. No, I love
They-
her.
John, you were talking earlier on when we were doing our individual reviews about what kind of movie this was, and I'll tell you, I think exactly what this movie was. Hulu somewhere, let's say 2019, 2020, they had a series on Hulu called In the Dark, and they released a 90-minute
Mhm.
movie every month. And it was 90 minutes on the dot. Some of them are good, some of them weren't.
Mhm.
And there was a lot of people that were coming up in the world of, movie making, directing, and stuff they were given chances to. They had a lot of good cast. This feels like it was probably queued up for season 3, and they got canceled.
Well, I thought
That's
that was a Blumhouse thing, wasn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there was some interesting stuff in there.
This would have fit in perfectly into that into the dark setup for Hulu. I think this is exactly where that comes from.
Yeah.
Mm,
She
that
wasn't
makes
in
sense.
Deadwood. I can't believe this, guys.
Yeah.
Oh God. So
In Rachel's
crazy.
America, she was.
There you go.
Yeah, right? Yeah, okay. Yeah, she'd be a ringer for that. I was like, what is Deadwood? It like took a second to penetrate my brain. Here we are.
Yeah.
Anything else about this movie you guys want to mention?
So kind of going back to what you were talking about, the setup taking a while because of the drug addiction thing, that was something that was apparently not in the book and was added for the film. And I kind of,
Wow.
for me, one of the strengths of this movie for me is the Darby character. I actually really liked her a lot. And I think Havana Rose Liu? I'm probably mispronouncing that. Really gave a strong performance. I think she did the best she could with, kind of a limited character role. But I was I'm kind of conflicted about how I feel about the addiction of, or the addition of her being an addict. Because on one hand, I liked that it sort of broke the stereotypical narratives you see about addiction. Like when it's in films, typically it's about sort of this cycle of, addiction and relapsing and things like that.
And it's like, you
this,
came through this challenge and now you really know what it's like to live.
right.
It's like,
Because
Yeah.
addicts definitely never face
No.
or they're, in the murder cabin or whatever this thing is. And I think it's kind of humanizing to some degree, but I also think I came away from it wondering, like, what are they saying about addiction, especially knowing that they added it and that, like, one of the major final, like, triumphant plot beats is her relapsing. And it's almost like, superpowers.
She uses the drugs to help her remove a nail from her own hand.
It's
Like,
true.
I thought it was genius. I actually really like that moment.
So it's pro
because-
drug is what you're saying.
Well, that's sort of
Yeah.
You kind of have to read it that way.
Do
No, because there is the other.
drugs because they make you. Then you won't feel pain and you can do cool stuff.
This is like another comp, but probably not a great one because this movie's old and I haven't seen it in a long time. But that movie Identity, like, basically, Rachel, I'm curious, and I know none of us have read the book, but like the version of this where there's no main character, but they're all sort of like equally main
That's kind of
characters.
what I'm
is
getting at. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that, and that's why the movie Identity kind of popped into my head, like sort of versus here, where they very much made the decision of like, this is her movie. She's the one who's going to get this major arc of like, I don't know, being a drug addict, like using drugs again, and then not being a drug addict anymore. I don't know, but it's not even a clean arc to your point. But they definitely made the decision that it was her movie as opposed to a movie that's like focused on the thrills and the I don't know, the intricacy of that plotting.
Yeah, I'm kind of floored that they added that. Now that I know
Right?
that, I'm really confused because
Right.
yeah, that's changed the whole nature of, the first third of your movie. And again, like you said, that final moment where she does drugs to get out of that situation, that's kind of a interesting choice. And then to find out that they made that, I figured they would be beholden to the book, and the book was supposed to have some metaphor or plot line that would stem from that or lead up to that. But
They were
knowing
like,
that they just kind
"Hey,"
of threw that in
They were
there,
like, "Hey, you know
Yeah.
what this movie needs? More plot. Let's."
it almost seems like a Popeye moment. Where like, oh, here's my can of spinach to get out of this.
The book didn't have enough bullshit in it. Let's add some more.
Yeah. I guess I just don't get the intent. Like we get a flashback of her almost ODing. We see,
Right.
that it's absolutely disrupted her life to the point where she doesn't even get to be with her mother when she freaking dies. This movie is brutal. And then,
Sure.
but then it's a triumphant moment in the movie, and I'm just kind of like, where are we? What are we trying to say? Where
Yeah.
are we going with this? And it. I guess we don't need an answer, but it definitely left me with a little bit of an ambivalent feeling about it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm a little more down on the movie now, to be honest.
Yeah.
Oh no! Feminist
One of us.
Killjoy
One
reporting
of
for
us.
duty.
One of us. All right. Would you recommend this? Great time to do that, Rachel.
Honestly, I kind of would, even though I have issues with it. I think it's a fun, it's a good sit.
Casey,
I agree. I think it's a good sit. It's worth a watch.
Jason,
Yeah, I agree. Like, I wouldn't have watched this if it wasn't for the show, but I'm glad that I did. So, yeah, sure.
John.
I'm just gonna say no, for sake of variety, more than
I'm gonna say yes. If you would have rented some like direct-to-video trash from Blockbuster in like 2010, then like yeah. If you're like into middle-of-the-road
That's so
thrillers,
most
you want
of
to just
us.
shut your brain off and be like, just dance for me. Like then yes, this is fine.
Look, if you have Hulu, you're paying for this.
That's
movie
what I'm saying.
already.
You're already
So-
you
Right.
already paid for this movie, so you might as well
Yeah.
watch it. Kill some brain cells with it. It's not that bad. And Dennis Haysbert, he's delightful and charming.
Yeah,
And
He'll
a-
win your heart.
daytime hooker.
And kind of scary, like a little scary, but also like it's like you don't want to disappoint him. So it's like a combination of those two things.
Yeah, that's
You
fair.
just won his approval. So-
So bad, John. You have no idea. Okay. It is time. Let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
The mindless, murderous fury that was buried with Jason has been reborn. Rated R.
Starts Friday at the Lyons Avenue and East Sprague Cinemas.
This is James Duval from Donnie Darko, May, and Sushi Girl, and you are listening to BloodyGoodHorror.com.
Send feedback to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or on Twitter using hashtag AskBGH. Join Patreon to get back episodes and much more. Patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror.
And we're back. I keep accidentally almost clicking on this react thing. Let's see what happens, John. Yay, I'm clapping.
Cool.
We
Skype can do that, but it can't allow me to put 4 people in equal boxes on my screen for the stream. So that's cool.
It still looks fine for me. I'm in the grid view.
No, but where are you though?
yeah, I'm up
I'm
the
in
upper
like the
right-hand
top right corner. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
That's fine with me. I like myself to be small. So
No, but here's my point. When there's only 4 of us, it puts me tiny up in the corner like that. It puts 2 people in squares and a third person in an awkward rectangle on the other side, and there's nothing I can do to fix it.
yeah.
It's the dumbest. Just put us all in equal boxes. Do what Zoom does. Zoom is like the only. I know. Whatever. I don't want to get into it, John.
Come to the Zoom side.
Ooh,
I
wait,
tried.
Have you tried, Eric? Have you tried large grid? That actually looks like it does what you want it to do.
Listen to these size queens
Ooh,
talking
large
about
gallery.
their boxes.
I'm
now
figuring
now
shit
I'm
out.
now see it's delayed though.
Well, it took it a second, but then it like clicked over.
Yeah,
No.
it's on time for me.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm delayed. Wait, I could do this though. I could put myself over this stupid thing.
Give it a second. All right. Well, in any event,
Okay.
we're just troubleshooting in real time.
You know
This is
what?
great.
Yeah,
You know
Good
what?
audio. It's good audio.
Good audio.
You know what? This works, John. Thanks, buddy. It looks
That's what I'm here for.
ridiculous on the stream, but here.
Join the
That's why I
Patreon
keep-
so you can see this happen. You think it's hot shit in audio? You should see it live.
It's hot shit. All
That's
right.
why John works in the podcast industry.
There you go.
Yeah, right. That's right. Oh my god, this is so confusing. Hold on. Okay. And now I'm gone. Damn it.
All right. Do we have emails there? Are there emails, or are we just gonna go right to the tweets?
You did this, so I don't. We're going back.
Should Eric? Can we talk? You know what? I'm gonna talk about some other technical difficulties we've been having.
Please,
while
because
you're
that's a thing we need to mention. Although they're not going to hear this apparently, so. Last
people
week,
who listen to this
we
podcast
were
on
so
Apple-
optimistic about going to
Yeah.
Anchor. We were so excited.
So we switched over to Anchor, Rachel. That was not because of you. It was something we were thinking about anyway. And then,
Oh, can I
Depending on
blame?
how the rest of the sentence ends.
Wait,
I'll
can I
either be
blame-
glad or sad?
Can I blame
Yeah.
Rachel?
well, no, the issue, and like this is a known issue that I was aware of in the back of my brain. Basically, Apple Podcasts, which is the primary podcast like database that a lot of other apps actually lean on as well for sort of like identifying podcasts and like cataloging the RSS feeds and yada yada. For whatever reason, it is currently not picking up the new RSS feed that that we've sent to Apple. The Anchor and Apple like help centers both say it can take up to 10 days. We're basically like at 10 days, and they're like, if it's been 2 weeks, you should complain. You're like, okay, cool. So we're two episodes later. So right now, the Bloody Good Horror Podcast is showing up everywhere. Well, everywhere other than, at least as far as we know, Apple, and then Overcast, which is what I use.
Anything that's
But I kn-
pulling directly from Apple.
Yeah, anything. So because we had submitted the RSS from Anchor to Pocket Cast, Spotify obviously gets it automatically. Google Podcasts. I don't know. There's a handful of others, but they're all getting the new episodes. They're showing up, so we know the feed is working, and it's not just working on Spotify because it's working on Pocket Cast as well. It's just not working on Apple, which is where most people listen to podcasts. So there's that. Yeah, I would say hang with us. We're gonna get it figured out.
Mhm.
This was an unintended consequence.
It's a good time,
of
John, to
moving
mention that if you are a subscriber to the Patreon podcast feed,
Yeah.
you would get this show early and never miss it.
Well, and I do think, Eric, it's a good shout that like that feed, which like we had struggled to like figure out what to do with it, and obviously we like in the ancient history we had done spin-off shows that were only in the Patreon feed. Now that feed is just early release Bloody Good Horror, which you get usually on Thursday when Eric kind of loads up the show after editing it, and then on Monday you're getting a classic episode. I mean, that's it. So if
Well,
you
and
grab
it has the archives as well of all the old
yeah, of
spin-offs.
all the other episodes. No, totally. And so it's like it's a good, useful, helpful feed in a way that like I don't know, in the past we just hadn't figured out what to do with it, and I think we've got a really clear idea now. So
Here we are. Stay tuned.
hopefully everything's back to normal soon. And if you hear this and you use Apple, great.
Shout
That's
out,
awesome.
yeah, shout out to Elizabeth, who was the only person who was like, "Hey, I don't see the show." In,
Well,
Apple
I
Podcasts."
get it,
I
and
was
I
going to
get
say something in the post show today.
yeah, okay. We like I get notifications like because I have it subscribed on Apple and it pops up like new episode, and I just like didn't notice that it didn't pop up obviously.
So yeah, don't forget to check out patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror. You can get that feed. You can also get the live feed of the show and see me mess around with Skype in real time. If you're saying to yourself, who uses Skype? It's us. We're keeping Skype running, keeping the lights on over there at Microsoft HQ.
I don't even think Microsoft people use it anymore because everyone's on Teams meetings. Have you guys
Teams.
done a Teams meeting?
Yeah, I use Teams.
Oh, yeah.
Woof.
Yeah, we use Teams at work. It sucks.
It's the worst.
It's okay. I don't mind it that
If
much.
I get an invite to a Teams meeting, I literally will email people and be like, "Hey, do you mind if I just send you a Zoom link? Like, it's much
Really?
easier."
I don't.
Oh no, I'd rather use Teams.
Yeah, I
too.
don't mind Teams, and I like that it has all the chat stuff. Like, and I like that it has the chat and my calendar like all tied into it.
Well, most of my stuff is like external meet. Like the Teams invites are coming from external people, and I think you're right. If everybody's on a Teams,
so
whatever, it's
my
probably better,
company,
but-
it's like if you're in the company, you use it, so it's all internal.
yeah.
John,
Yeah,
you just
exactly.
need a better IT staff.
Ooh,
No,
shots
I mean,
fired.
I have the Teams app. It just sucks. Like if you're not a native user, it's like, what's the point? But,
If it was set up correctly on the back end, you'd like it better. I promise.
no, but we don't use it as a company. Is my point. Like we don't
Yeah, that's
use
fair.
Microsoft stuff. Like so, I have to use it just because external people use it. Whatever. It is what it is.
Okay,
love
that's
this.
more fair.
I love corporate communication talk on BGH. It's my favorite thing.
I have a lot of thoughts.
Jason, where can people find you when you're not here?
Well, when I'm not here, I host the podcast Dads from the Crypt. Me, Mondo, and Jody are three dads. We met through Bloody Good Horror Slack, specifically doing trivia when the early days of COVID.
Yeah.
And we review episodes of Tales from the Crypt. We do dad advice. We do song of the day. We do trivia. We have actors and directors and producers who worked on the show come on and do interviews. And we actually have a mini podcast going on right now about the making of Bordello Blood. It's basically created by one of the producers and writers, and it's called How Not to Make a Movie. So it's basically about how much of an enormous shit show it was. You know, everything that could go wrong did go wrong. It's very entertaining. Joel Silver cracks me up with his antics.
And that's in your feed, right?
That's in our feed. Yeah, he has his feed, but we're kind of sharing it.
Mhm.
So because we're helping him produce it. So yeah, you can go to our feed and get both of those shows. And it's only like half an hour, little bits. So it's just really kind of jump in, jump out.
Love it.
And then we're also starting to upload some of our older episodes onto YouTube. And we're hopefully going to be doing some Q&As with some people from the show as well in the next couple months. So
Very nice. Well, so
Stuff.
search Dads from the Crypt in all your things that you search in, and you'll find it. There you go. Rachel, what's going on over at the Zombie Girls with a Z network?
We're up to our usual shenanigans. We've got our various shows on the network. I'm trying to think what are some highlights from recent things. I had a guest host on when we reviewed the film Bedeviled, which is this, I think it's a Korean revenge film that I had never heard of. And if you haven't seen it, it's wild and I highly recommend it. We This week, we're going to be putting out our interview with the director of Hatching that we're really excited about. She was really interesting. The movie is really interesting. And yeah, that's kind of what's going on this week over on our shows.
And
But you can find us on zombiegirls.com or
Love it. And there's
Apple
multiple
until we switch to Anchor, apparently. All
You-
the usual places.
You guys have multiple shows on your feed too.
Yeah, a little something for everybody.
Love it. Check,
This-
check that out. Zombie Girls, GRRLZ. There you go.
That's right.
Another bonus if you become a BGH patron is you get to see Rachel's cool hairdos on when she's on the show.
Thanks.
What I like about your hair, Rachel, is you also do like you get the pink hair, but you're also your eyebrows. And all I can think is like, what
Gotta
is
coordinate.
that? Do they have to like fully strip your eyebrows too to do that? The way
well,
they
this
do the
is-
hair, you know what I mean? Like,
So it's makeup.
oh, dude, I love it. I don't mean to reveal your secrets. That's amazing.
Thank you. I get a lot of like double takes at the brows. Yeah.
I like it because you almost because it matches. It's like you don't notice for a second, and then you're like, oh, all right, cool.
Should I just have pretended that they grew this way and been very offended?
Actually, I had to dye my hair to match my eyebrows. Thanks for bringing it up.
The funniest thing to me is having a daughter that's turning 22 in May. I know what Rachel's got going on. I know what she's doing.
Oh, well,
I understand it.
I love it.
I've helped buy products.
That's adorable.
Casey, what do we have on Twitter?
Well, we got a few tweets on Twitter tonight. We're going to jump back to one that's left over from last week from another longtime listener at Blutvergeisen. Which would you rather watch, The Stand or The Langoliers?
Stand.
I've never seen The
Not even a
Stand.
question.
I've never seen The Stand. I used to rent The Langoliers double VHS all the time.
It's real bad.
It's terrible.
Like,
and
it
I
is.
loved it.
It is.
Bronson Pinchot. It's man.
The Stand is not. I mean,
If you
I would
like-
go
watched
with
it when I
The
was like
Stand
10 or
100%.
If you like real legit like bad movie like campiness, The Langoliers like you could do worse.
Yeah. Yeah. The Stand is obviously better, but just put the Langoliers on in front of people and watch it unfold.
Maybe that is the point of her
10
question. How do you
minutes
say
of
that?
Bronson Pinchot pulling papers apart. Like, then the Langoliers arrive. I mean,
Because people forget or whatever, or they're just not as old as we are. The Langoliers, that was around the time where like any kind of Stephen King miniseries was like a fucking event. That was like big time late 90s monoculture, or maybe like mid 90s or something, early 90s. But like if there was a Stephen King miniseries, you watched it. Like, because the only stuff you really watched at night was like one of the networks, you know what I mean? So it was like a big deal.
Yeah.
Do you remember Storm of the Century?
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I watched all of those.
I don't know that
Yeah.
I ever finished it. Wasn't that was a 4-parter? I think.
Yeah, this is really long.
Yeah,
And the
super
stand,
long.
the stand as well, right? Was a miniseries.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That
but
was
I-
a long one. The
It
book
was only
long,
2
too.
tapes. I think it was like, I don't know, maybe 6 hours on
Two
tape.
tapes
I
at
don't know.
SLP, John. Super
But the
long.
book
Yeah.
was over
Yeah.
like 1,200 pages, right?
I did read the book at one
You
point.
know,
in,
I'm
like,
I'm
middle
literally
school.
like going to eBay. I'm like, I need a Langoliers VHS.
yeah.
How do I not have this in my collection? I'm pretty pissed now.
I can't believe you don't have it. I'm actually
Yeah.
somewhat surprised.
Someone apparently got it first when that place went out of business because I 100% would have bought it.
Langoliers is
Alright.
money. Yeah.
Next up, we dip down under from our longtime listener and fan at HorrorFan 4129, also known as Aussie Indy. If you could erase a 2021 movie from your brain so that you could experience it all over again, which would it be? Or a movie you'd like to forget? I'd love to forget Spiral and rewatch Malignant.
I like that he thinks I remember anything, a single thing
Yeah.
that happened in
Yeah.
2021, movie or otherwise.
Yeah. Anything I put in, I have to lose something on the other end. So
Yeah, it's just in and out. I could tell you like all the lyrics to like an Eminem song from like 1998, but
Yeah.
right, Rachel, you're right. Like any new information boots something out that happened like a week ago, and that's just how
Exactly.
it works.
I would love to watch Malignant again, like for the first time. That's just one of those
Yeah.
like unique experiences.
Yeah, I could
No,
get down
thank
with
you.
that. That's not a bad suggestion on its own. That was pretty out there.
yeah.
I don't
I
remember
felt
what
like
else came out.
I mean, not so that I could watch it again, but I could unsee Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That'd be fine.
I wouldn't mind, I wouldn't mind experiencing the rain firefight in Halloween Kills. Not really the rest of the movie, but just that opening where he comes out of the fire and just beats the shit out of everybody is real good.
Yeah. That was a pretty
Murders
good
that guy with the jaws of life while flames shoot around him. That's pretty cool.
Is the last one of those this year?
Yeah.
Good news, John. I didn't even click on the link because I hate everything. But they were. I saw a headline this week that was like, Blumhouse is going to make another Halloween movie after Halloween ends. I was like,
No.
cool.
No.
I guess cool.
No, thank
Guys,
you.
just let it go.
Yeah.
Do you hear
It's
that?
gonna be the Cult of Thorn
You hear that,
spin-off.
Jason
That's what
Blum?
it's gonna be.
Okay. Well, in that case, I'm back in.
Oh.
You
Apparently,
know-
the novelization of Halloween Kills has references to your favorite cult.
It. Okay, Rachel.
Ooh.
Rachel. I literally.
Eric might read a book.
I'm okay. I'm not making this up. I literally just got chills when you said that.
Oh!
One of my biggest
Didn't it?
regrets in
He
life.
just changed his eBay search.
One of my biggest disappointments in life is never seeing a proper sequel to Halloween 6.
He never
Well.
references it either, which is weird.
Yeah.
I've definitely never said that on the show before.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we have a thinker from another longtime fan of BGH at Somnambulabrum, who is also known to us as Alyssa.
Oh, all right.
Got it.
Since the book club is reading the ruins under our horrifying nature theme, what aspect of nature scares you the most? For me, I have an intense fear of hurricanes, despite living nowhere near hurricane zones.
Interesting.
That's a good one.
I don't like brush, like thick brush where you can't see what's living inside of it. Like I think that comes from when I lived in Florida, and I just had this deep sense that being a landscaper is probably the most dangerous job there. Because there is some shit living everywhere, and it's probably not friendly
good point.
when you live in a hot place. It's not friendly. Whatever's living there.
I mean, I don't know if this is exactly what you intended, but snakes, I think, is
Yes.
probably my answer. It's they're part of nature and they're very scary. So
I fucking hate snakes.
I'm not big on. I kind of hate spiders a lot too.
I was going to go with spiders, especially if you've been watching the TV show From, which just had its season finale. I had some issues with that.
Dude, I just said spiders and I'm all itchy. I can't.
Yeah, 100%.
Eric, I drove into Florida once, and we stopped at the first rest center, first visitor center. First thing I see when I get out is a sign that says "Beware venomous snakes."
Cool.
I almost stopped back in the
There's
car.
a thing.
and
There's
drove
a
away.
phenomenon in
Nope.
Florida that I didn't never encounter until I moved down there. I'm sure I used to talk about it when I lived there. But you step on grass and you see, and it's you don't see what it is, but the grass shakes and it's in every direction as awake when you're walking. It's the weirdest thing. There's every 5 feet there's a living thing under your feet somewhere.
Yeah, I am deeply house cat identified, so all
Same.
of nature is my
Same.
But
I grew up in
thing that
small
keeps me up
town
at night is
Indiana.
prions. Anytime I see any article about that, I'm I can't even read it because I'm just gonna spiral into a
Wait, prions? Oh, is it,
prions disease and
is
things
that-
like that.
Oh,
aren't those? Isn't that the cat parasite or whatever?
It's some, I don't know if it's I think it might be a parasite, but it's something we have no defense of. And it's just a ticking time bomb of nature that eventually it will spread.
What?
And it's a zombie like disease. Welcome to my spiral.
How do you spell
Good
it?
luck to sleep.
I do have a fear of whenever I'm in the body of water and it's murky and I can't see past my feet or see my leg. If
Yeah.
you're in the murky lake,
Mhm.
yeah.
that always kind of creeps me out.
yeah, that's no, totally agree. Scary.
I don't want to toot my own horn, but my first published short story was a story called Deep Lies the Murky Floor that is just about that fear.
Ugh.
Yeah. Stay
Prions.
out of the ocean and off the shark's plate.
Rachel, prions are virus-like proteins that cause mad cow disease, among other things.
Yeah.
Eesh.
God.
Yep. And they're
I mean,
coming.
Don't eat people
They're
or
coming.
don't eat people or cow brains. You're probably okay.
All right, we got two more tweets here. Next one is from @Whitney, What is your earliest memory of a horror movie or TV show scaring you? What was the scene? Does it still scare you today?
We've gotten this question before. There's been versions of it.
Right.
Here, I'll hop in.
You guys go. Yeah, Jason and Rachel. No one's ever gotten this answer from you.
So the first modern horror movie I remember seeing, because I watched, Godzilla and the Universal stuff, but the first like contemporary horror movie I saw as a kid was the Blob remake.
Oh,
which
nice.
Which is one of my all-time favorite movies, but
Amazing.
scared the crap out of me. And two scenes in specifically. One is where the woman is the diner waitress is stuck in the phone booth, and it's like closing in on her and like crushes her. That, and then the other one is when they're in the sewer and the blob eats one of the kids, and the kid jumps out and he's like all dissolving.
Yeah.
I was the
Yeah.
same age as that kid. I'd never seen a kid get caught. In this movie now. It was terrifying.
Oh shit, that's something else I gotta worry about.
Yeah.
if I was your parent, I'd been like, see, better listen to me. That can
And
happen.
the best part was this was on a black and white TV because it was,
Oh, wow.
late 80s.
Jason.
Oh, amazing. So
That's
for me,
good.
it started with a sound more than what I saw. I was like in my room playing with Barbies or whatever, minding my own damn business, and I started hearing Rachel coming from the other room, and I peeked out of my door, straight shot down the hall, and my dad was watching Pet Cemetery, and it was Zelda.
Oh.
Saying my name.
Dude.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's
I mean, that was
terrifying.
one of my first two, and it's fucking
Mhm.
that movie. Well, you never get away from that for the rest of your life.
Yes.
I think I've told the story, but my grandfather had me watch The Gate when I was like,
It's
my
scary.
grandfather used to show me all kinds of like random shit.
It's
yeah,
scary when
and
you're a
like,
kid.
And you were terrified of the gate from the
well,
gate.
and I mean, yeah, The Gate. I don't even know if I've seen it since. Like, I was probably like 6 or 7. It's about kids, right? Like, don't the parents like go away and then it's like the kids are like, so that also was like scared the shit out of me. I was like,
Oh yeah.
my grandfather, this is my mom's dad, just he had no filter for like what he was showing me, and perfect example. So
It's a great movie.
I've told this before too, but I still have vivid memories of watching Poltergeist with my parents when I was very young, and that whole scene where he slaps the steak on the counter and it crawls away, it still gets me. All right, the last tweet we have is from @Schnecky91. And, well, I probably should have skipped this one, but we'll go ahead and ask. Whatever happened to the beer guts guy who hated everything?
I'm sure he's
We're
off
not sure.
somewhere right now drinking a beer and hating everything.
Yeah.
Joe actually has a podcast. He reviews it's called Small Town Failing. He reviews like Lifetime movies.
Yeah, and Hallmark, I think.
Hallmark. Yeah. Like that whole ilk. So go check
the
it out.
genre.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did you know that,
can
John?
Find him out there.
John, you look surprised when I said that. Did you know that?
No, Suzanne told me.
Oh, gotcha.
She keeps me posted on the Joe comings and goings. So
He got a spy. I love it.
yeah.
All right, is that it, Casey?
That is it, Eric.
Love it. Let's see. Update, John. My iPhone did charge from that same charger, so I think that's my.
Thank
stupid
God.
iPhone.
I was like living in suspense this whole time.
I know this about you, and I don't like to leave you there, so I just will let you know.
Yeah.
We gotta. We also take questions on Instagram. Got a handful of questions. One of them is a real question. Do you think Schnarr/Sebastian Stan could have saved this movie?
Obviously.
What if Sebastian
Yes.
Stan is one of the killers?
I mean, he would have had to be, right?
He's
Or-
charming as hell. I would have been in.
What if they kidnapped Sebastian Stan?
Ooh.
Ooh.
And he had Addison's disease.
Yeah. He died
Is
if
he
he got
his
too
character
excited.
from Gilmore Girls? That's the question.
He's in Gilmore
Yeah.
Girls? Oh, I didn't
Wait,
know that.
wait. Who?
Sebastian Stan?
No, who's in Gilmore Girls?
Not Gilmore Girls. What's the never mind. Gossip Girl. That's the one.
Different show.
You
Alright.
smart people, I took this question facetiously, but you smart people can choose to take it literally. What's your favorite Sartre play? Whatever, John, however you said it.
No, well, Jason,
I think
I
it's
think had the
Sartre.
correct. Yeah, I think that's the correct pronunciation.
Sure. What's your favorite that guy play?
I should have looked them up.
What other ones are there?
Yeah.
Well-
who knows?
That's where like I didn't want to say something, and then I was gonna be like, I was gonna have gotten it wrong, and it was like a Camus thing or something.
Yeah, I was gonna say Camus is different. The Stranger's different.
I don't know that I've read any. like I do think I read No Exit in college, but I don't know that I've read. I'm like looking at some of these other titles.
I'm gonna go with The Devil and the Good Lord, just because that sounds like a great title.
There you
I
go.
was gonna say I'm pretty smart, but I'm not Sart smart.
So it was 40s was No Exit. It looks like. You know, for those keeping score.
My favorite era of plays. I saw a high school rendition of Cinderella a couple weeks ago, John. That was scintillating. I had an allergic reaction to the auditorium and got sick for a week afterwards. So that's my review.
Oh God!
That in the capital region? You did this?
Yes, it was.
Oh boy.
It's probably prions.
Dude, I literally was just sitting there angry because I knew I was gonna get, like, I haven't been around that many people in a prolonged, like, you know, when a room gets, this is a sensation that I had forgot. Do you know when a room full of a lot of people gets hot and you're just breathing in like hot air? That happened and I'm like, I'm gonna die. I'm just gonna get COVID and die before I even leave this place.
Eric, I just have to interrupt here. Jean-Paul Sartre has a play called The Respectful Prostitute.
Yes.
That's definitely my favorite.
I was gonna get that in too.
No, I'm sorry. All right.
But
Very
isn't the
nice.
respectable prostitute Patty the daytime hooker?
No, it's respectful. She's respectful. I mean,
He's
I guess
not
it could
necessarily
have
saying
prostitute
she's
too, I don't know.
respectable. She just
Patty could still be respectful.
she pays respect to other people, it sounds like. Which
There
is,
you go.
you know, that's a good way to be, I think, just in general.
Yeah.
Last question for the evening. What is your favorite inclement weather memory? Snowed in a house, delayed flights, etc. Okay. I forget this guy's name, but this is Caitlin's friend. He's been writing in the last couple weeks. Very delightful gentleman. I love this because, like, he's like, "What's your favorite memory?" And then he lists two things that are horrible: getting snowed in a house and getting your flight delayed. Which is how I know this is a positive person, and I like that.
No, I mean they can lead to interesting.
Dude, I mean, growing up in the
memories.
Northeast, I loved a good blizzard/snow day as a kid.
Yeah. The
But-
best, I'll give you mine, and it's actually related, Eric. Hurricane Floyd. So, like, Alyssa, cover your ears, I guess. Hurricane Floyd was like, I think we were in 7th grade, and it was like one of these things where, like, the hurricane was coming. We don't get a lot of hurricanes in Pennsylvania, but, like, it was coming. They, like, knew it was coming. They sent us to school. It was like 10 in the morning. So we'd been through like 2 or 3 classes in middle school, and they were like, guys, this hurricane's really bad. Literally, the principal comes on. Hurricane's really bad. The buses will be arriving in like 20 minutes. Everybody has to go home. Like, no sports. Like, everything's canceled. Go home. People went crazy. We got home, and like I lived like up the street from my friends, and it was like warm. I remember it must have been like August or something. It was like early in the school year. We just fucking put on like ratty ass clothes and ran around in this hurricane for like the whole rest of the day. It was incredible. I mean, like, probably dangerous, but like just doing the dumbest like shit you could think of in the suburbs with a hurricane going on. It was great.
Like, Northeast hurricanes are real wild because people don't picture them hitting here, but like in Boston, once a year you get slammed like with a hurricane.
You're not really like we don't build for hurricanes,
Right.
because you don't have them that much. So there was like flooding everywhere. I mean, it was crazy. We were like wading through water on the street, like up to our waist, in certain places. Super gross. Probably like not a good idea, but like whatever.
Taking staff baths all day long.
Have either of you West Coasters experienced any earthquake action?
Okay, yeah, we do have earthquakes. I would say we don't really.
It's not really weather
in
per se,
California.
but
I remember there was one earthquake where the power went out like for a long time, and so the big exciting thing was they were just giving away ice cream at the end of the street because it was thawing.
That's pretty
so
awesome.
you could just go get a melty scoop, and it was like, I was a kid, so it was the best thing ever.
That sounds
is
like
cool.
a pretty amazing memory. How about
They,
you, Jason? Sorry, Casey.
Oh, I was going to say back in 1978, I was 4 years old, and northern Indiana got blanketed in a blizzard, biggest one in history for a long time. I have vivid memories being 4 years old. I don't remember much of the blizzard, but I remember waking up and going in my mom's room in the trailer we lived in at the time, and she said, "Go look who's on the couch." Well, my uncle lived in a town called Bremen, Indiana, lived in worked in a town called Warsaw, and in between was where our trailer court was. And the snow had gotten so bad, he stopped at our place with my mom and dad, and he was crashed out on our couch. So I woke up, and my mom said, "Go see who's on the couch." And I tiptoed down the hallway to go see who's on the couch in the living room and saw my uncle there. He was kind of pudgy. He had a beard. My first thought at 4 years old was, it's freaking Santa Claus. And I woke him up by jumping knees first onto his chest. Santa Claus!
Amazing. Jason, you got one?
Well, I've only been in Los Angeles like 12 years, and we have great weather, so not
Yeah.
too much. I do remember my first earthquake. Living here was just a very minor one. I was just sitting on the couch, and all of a sudden we had that thing where the pots and pans are hanging, and all of a sudden they just started like moving a little bit, and then I just felt like a roll, like everything just kind of like went up and down real quick.
That's crazy.
But I used to live. I grew up in Portland, and it only snowed a couple times a year, and usually it'd snow at night, and then it would all melt by the morning. One time we had a freak storm in the middle of the afternoon, and I had a Jeep with 4-wheel drive, so I knew I could drive through anything really, and people just like flipped out. They didn't know what to do, so people just like stopped on the side of the road. They just like went to bars and stuff, and I'm just driving 4-wheel drive all the way home. I literally saw someone build a fire on the side of the road.
I don't know. We just live here now. This is how it ends.
Yeah, this is where we are.
Love it.
Yeah, no
I-
doubt it would be apocalypse.
I do have like deep nostalgia for thunderstorms, but like not when the storm is happening. It's like the 20 minutes before it goes off. It's like before rain. Once rain happens, I'm actually kind of over it, and I'm like, close the blinds. I'm good. But like that like tension in the air before a thunderstorm, where it's like the clouds and thundering, and you get some lightning, and the wind picks up. That's like, dude, I'm like, wherever I am, I'm like, somebody put the Halloween soundtrack on. It's like Halloween or like Creep Show, and I'm just like, I just soak in as much as I can until
Eric,
it rains.
you got to move back to Florida, bro. That's every fucking afternoon.
I mean, dude, if the thunderstorms in the south and especially down in like southern Florida are insane,
Oh yeah.
and they happen like daily in the summer, it's like nothing you've ever seen. Like terrifying lightning and thunder. It's crazy. Although in
Yeah,
the
last-
Northeast we do get thunder snow, which is pretty wild.
Oh yeah.
It's when it
Last-
thunders and lightnings during a snowstorm.
What?
And
It's apocalyptic.
not super
That's
common.
rad.
the really it's like you're in the mist is what it feels like. But the really crazy thing is that when it lightnings, the air is filled with slow moving, like basically light refractors. So it basically lights up like a nuclear bomb goes off. Like when the lightning hits, it's
Yeah,
just
it's
like
much
everything. It's like flashes basically.
Holy shit! I didn't even know that was a thing.
We're-
That
I'm
sounds
gonna look that up
rad.
on YouTube.
It's real
We're
cool.
supposed to get a thunderstorm tomorrow, Eric. That's what they're saying here.
The day after for me.
Oh, maybe it is Thursday. You're right. You're
We're
right.
supposed to have severe storms all week. Yay.
John, you can rest assured when that happens. Stop yourself and just think somewhere right now, Eric is listening to the Halloween soundtrack. I want you to think of me when you feel it in the air, okay?
I'll know.
Love it. Yeah, Thunder Snow. Check it out. You West Coast people with your pleasant weather that don't know the horrors.
I miss that. I miss snow and thunderstorms and stuff.
Yeah, I think I would,
would
too. I did
go
miss, like, in living in Florida, I did miss the seasons for sure. But winter is the worst. It's the hell season, so forget that shit.
You need the hell season though that you
And
you
honestly,
appreciate.
spring
the other
spring
seasons.
sucks ass too. So you really get like summer and fall is like kind of it. And there's a good section of summer where it's like unlivable up here because it's too hot.
Oh, see, Eric,
Do
I'm
you
like,
work for the tourism board?
I'm hard on spring right now. Like it's so today
Spring
was fucking amazing.
Sucks, but
It like rained all morning, and then it's like the sun comes out. It got warm, and you're just like, yes.
it gets warm for like 20 minutes and
happening.
everything is mud.
I
Well,
don't
yeah.
know. I don't know how warm you
Indiana-
need it to be, but
Indiana, we're currently in second spring, and then we're getting ready to go into mud season. Then we'll go into third spring, and then straight into
Right.
dead of summer.
Yeah, there's a graphic somewhere about like the Northeast and this time of the year is like they call it Fool's Spring.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, it was. I mean, it was in the 30s the other night. I mean,
Yeah.
still gets chilly, but
All right,
we
well
have like spring, fall,
Yeah.
summer,
that's
fire.
the
like,
weird thing about
like,
Florida.
season.
The weird thing with Florida is like fall and winter are just one long like mild fall. Like it just sort of the leaves kind of turn and they fall, and then they just stay there all year long. Like the leaves never go away, basically. Oh, it's wild. All right, John, would it surprise you to know we don't know what we're reviewing next week?
It wouldn't at all, actually. Obviously. I think
Let's-
there's a theatrical thing. We can look, but
Let's cross our fingers that the Apple situation gets straightened out. If not, we're gonna have to check in with John Apple and see what's going on.
On Apple.
Check
Are
out.
you going to see the new Sam Raimi joint, Doctor Strange?
oh, I forgot he directed that. It does look good. I thought the trailers were. Really, I like the first one.
It
too.
feels like one of
Yeah.
those things I
Stoked.
have to have seen 50 other Marvel movies to see, so I don't know that. I don't know that.
Yeah.
50
Well, you
movies
would've
and
had to
10
have
shows,
watched-
which is what they've
It-
done to Star Wars now too. Like I'm kind of out on Star Wars because I just can't watch it all.
I
Yeah.
assume WandaVision looks like it's being pulled in like pretty hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
hard.
Definitely.
So I'm probably all set with that. But check out Dads from the Crypt. Check out Zombie Girls, More Deadly. All those things happening. Casey, do you have anything you wanted to promote?
I'm still posting art on Instagram, cinema.fromage. So come hang out and find me. I've got some art on display, but that's coming. That's about to an end. Who knows what comes out next?
Love it. Who knows? That's a good way to put it. Who knows what's next for any of us, Casey?
Exactly.
All right, ladies and gents, that's going to do it for this episode of Bloody Good Horror. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll talk to you soon.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.